Hey, ladies, welcome to Black Women Making Money. We are the home of the upwardly mobile Black woman. We are talking tonight with Mentor Shelley about being a new collar worker. What does that mean? And how you can navigate this whole thing. So, we're going to have our music for 90 seconds, give people a chance to come in, hit the like button. If you're listening to the replay, please put replay in the comments. That way, YouTube can know you like this content. And we'll be back as soon as the 90-second intro is done. Here we go. Welcome to Black Women Making Money. We are the home of the upwardly mobile Black woman. For exclusive content and invitations to our Inner Circle Zoom meetings, which happen on a monthly basis, you can sign up for free for our email newsletter at bwmakingmoney.com. That's bwmakingmoney.com. Ladies, gentlemen, she's in the building. She is our career coach. She is our HR consultant. Most importantly, she is one of Black Women Making Money's favorite guests who comes and helps us get our careers right. Ladies and gentlemen, it is Mentor Shelley in the building. Yay!
Oh, Cherie, thank you so much for having me on your program. Of course, I give the honor back to you, making sure that Black women making money, the women that fit that description in whatever way, shape, or form, has a space to be themselves, to be creative, to share knowledge, information in order for us to continue in the vein of making money and to be upwardly mobile.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, today's conversation is all about this concept of new collar workers and new collar jobs. And I discovered this because it was in my YouTube feed. I get a lot of different types of content because of the type of content I consume. And this actually happened to have come from CNBC, who was talking about this. And as soon as I saw it, I watched it and I'm like, Mentor Shelley, we have to do a discussion about this. So we've got 15 people here thus far. I'm sure we're going to get more as this conversation continues. Ladies, I want you to tell me if you are a blue collar worker, a white collar worker, or a new collar worker. And in fact, better yet, tell me if you have ever heard of a new collar worker, because up until 2 days ago, I had no clue it existed. But Mentor Shelley is about to drop some gems on us with regards to this whole phenomenon that's rising around new collar work. But Mr. Shelley, actually, before we get to that, and we're going to actually show the CNBC, um, it's a segment that they did on CNBC with a woman from Yale. Um, Tell everybody a little bit about your YouTube channel, your Facebook, what you talk about on your social media, and how you help people.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Mhm.
Mentor Shelley, mentoring you to become a better version of yourself professionally is usually the tagline you hear me say right after I introduce myself. Because becoming a better version of yourself professionally can flesh out in many different ways. It definitely can be climbing the personal economic ladder by developing your career from high school to college to trades, depending on what it is, as long as there is more money coming into your pocket and you're doing it legally.
Your own personal economy, your
Yes,
own personal economy, which is so important these days. So,
absolutely.
what I want to do now is I actually want to do it like this.
Yes.
Hold on. I wanted to make them, I didn't want, um, darn it, I didn't want CNBC to be so big, but I wanted to show you as well.
Mhm.
But StreamYard doesn't have an option for that.
Okay.
So
That's fine.
forgive me
We're
here. I'm
good.
just going to make you, yeah, because I don't want problems with CNBC with
I
regards to
understand.
this.
Don't do
But
you?
okay, so this segment came out a couple of days ago. It's 6 days old, ladies. And there is a woman named Joanne Lippman. She is a Yale University professor, and she was on CNBC Squawk Box, and she was talking about this something called the rise of new collar jobs. Now, uh, there are hints of classism in this segment. There are there's
Mhm.
definitely a discussion of the upcoming trends with regards to labor and how labor is going to work. Um, but I'm going to start and stop this. Mentor Shelley is going to chime in as well. Mentor Shelley, if something is said that you want me to stop, just say stop and I'll do that. Okay.
Not a problem.
Alrighty then. Let's get started.
Mhm.
High paying new collar jobs are hiring in fields like healthcare, engineering, tech, and software, and accessible without a college degree. They're in demand. This is a new wave of workers are utilizing continuing education, online classes, certifications, and boot camps to combat the impact AI is having to the labor market. Joining us now is Joanne Lippman, Yale University lecturer, CNBC contributor. Joanne, I'm always skeptical of new phrases, but I kind of read the notes on this and maybe I can be convinced. New collar. What is it? Why do we care?
Sure, sure. So new collar, it's actually not quite that new
I heard
a
2016
phrase.
it goes back to.
2016, Ginny Rometty at IBM coined the phrase to say that there are a whole lot of jobs out there for which we've been sort of automatically saying you need a college degree, but you really don't need a college degree. You do need some sort of training, but not necessarily a college degree. So she coined this idea of new collar, and a lot of other companies now are going into the same direction. And what they're doing very often is they create these things that IBM started again with this, with apprenticeships, which is you don't have to have the college degree. You do need to get the experience. We're going to bring you in and we're going to give you the training. It actually, by the way, Steve, goes even further back than these apprenticeships, because if you go back even another almost decade to 2008, we had what were called returnships, and Goldman Sachs was the first to create returnships.
Okay.
Yeah, I was just about to say, stop right there.
Okay. And actually, I'm like, okay, I wanted her to get a full thought out, but
Yeah.
like we're not trying. So the rest of this, ladies, is probably going to be just us here in audio because I'm not trying to have an issue with CNBC or NBC Corporation. But
Mhm.
before we do that, I know you said stop, but Torian Dreams is here. Dark and
Yes.
Lovely is here saying hello. Notary World is in the building. And our dear friend, the Credit Solutionist, is here as well. So hello.
Hey,
Hello,
hey,
ladies.
everybody.
Okay, so one of the things that they showed on the screen is there are white collars jobs, blue collar jobs, and new collar jobs. And we are seeing now, we're seeing the separation of this type of work where white collar was always seen as you work in an office, blue collar was always you work with your hands, and now new collar is in the center. It's people who are doing they're getting training from um, short spurts of education. Could be boot camps, could be certification classes. Um, she started talking about apprenticeships and things like that.
Mhm.
Mentor Shelley, what are some of the trends you see with regards to this, the new collar, the rise of the new collar worker? What are you seeing?
The rise of the new collar worker is following the speed of technology in a lot of ways. The term new collar obviously was coined by Miss Jeannie Romney in 2016, but it became truly prevalent with the pandemic. Let's be clear. Because a lot of what we had to do had to be done in a different way, had to be done remotely. And technology has now opened its doors, in a sense, for a lot of these opportunities to arise. For example, an example of a new collar job would be software developer or mortgage loan originator, like something that you're familiar with, Cherie.
Absolutely.
Because those particular positions would have initially, let's say 15 years ago, be thought of as, as white collar jobs.
Mhm.
However, all those require these days, based on the fact that information is readily and easily obtained with technology, either through a class you can do digitally, or through a certification maybe you can attend for a few months or a few weeks. um, all of those jobs are now considered new collar, new school, a new way of using the talent a specific person has, whether they have a college degree or not. In this case, we're talking about people that don't have college degrees, can obtain a brand new profession in a matter of weeks or months and increase their personal economy significantly, depending on the type of new collar job or new collar career they decide to transition to.
Yeah, so actually, I am going to show this add to stage here. I am going to show this here. I'm not going to play it right now. Just
Mhm,
show this. It's saying that there's a shifting job market
mhm.
according to this slide here.
Yes.
So less than 50% of jobs now require a college degree. There was a time when, if you wanted to work white collar, especially,
Mhm.
you needed to have a college degree. A lot of that is starting to be pulled back now. It also says here ZipRecruiter listings requiring a bachelor's degree fell from 18% to 14.5%.
Right.
And 45% of employers said they eliminated degree recs for certain roles. What are some of your thoughts with regards to this? And then I have a very important follow up question as well.
I'm not opposed to it, only because sometimes not that the college degree is not valuable, because I have one at
I
Sharice.
do too, and the student loan debt to go with it.
Listen, let's not talk about that. That's a whole other subject for a whole other day. I was like, please, could you forgive mine? Please. You know, that's a whole other subject for a whole other day. However, I am in favor in a lot of cases of not requiring the degree, because a degree in some cases for people is literally a piece of paper. I prefer, and of course, Black women making money, Cherie advises this at all times. It's always best to skill up, to increase your skill level in whatever way, shape, or form that you can, either in the current career path you're in or the career path you want to transition to. Whether it's in another job or it's in a business type of setting, it just depends. At the end of the day, I'm always going to be open to opportunities that doesn't necessarily require a degree. But if you have the skills and if you have the know-how and you have And you also understand how to market those skills. That's also very important, folks. You can have all the skills all you want, but if you keep it a secret, nobody will know. And if nobody knows, how can you use those skills to take advantage, and how can you use those skills to increase your personal economy?
Okay,
So
so we're going to have a healthy debate about this. So before I do that, though, True Mystique is saying hello, hello, hello. Hello, True
no.
Mystique. Dark and Lovely is saying, I saw this, thought they are both out of touch and elitist as the conversation continues. It's funny that you said this, Dark and Lovely, because
Oh
Mentor
yes.
Shelley and I picked up on that as well.
Oh
And
yes.
we said when we were behind stage before we came up that we
Mhm,
wanted to talk about that as they continue. So look, we're right there with you. Donna
mhm.
Earth is saying hello. Donna Earth, I have something to say to you specifically. So you know what? I'm going to save it. I'm going to save it, Dawn to Earth. I hope you're here for the very end. But yesterday we did our discussion on um, the Supreme Court opening the borders, and some idiot came in my comment section and made a dumb statement, and you responded, Dawn to Earth. And I'm going to say, we don't know who that person was. We don't know if that person was Black, etc. Let's not give our entire game plan, because I could tell from that person, what that person wrote, that that person may not have been Black. I'm not
Oh.
even going to say Black woman. I'm just going to say Black, period. So next time we see something like that, Dawn to Earth, pay it dust. Don't respond at all. So do that if for me it's a favor, my dear. That's all I'm asking you. Um, Flo Jersey is saying, good evening, sweet lady is here. Chocolate Cosmos, I'm going to come back to what you said, because the truth is I wrote down the same thing. That was my follow-up question for Mentor Shelley, actually.
Mhm.
Credit Solutionist, there's definitely valuable talent in both camps. In
Absolutely.
both camps? In white and blue? Or what you mean both
No,
camps?
in college versus non-college.
Oh, okay. Yes,
Mhm.
yes, absolutely. Okay. So Chocolate Cosmos actually um, was echoing what I had. So I told you I wanted to ask you a follow-up question based on what you said. So
Yes.
Chocolate Cosmos wrote here, they drop the higher degrees, but you need 3 to 5+ years of experience. They don't want to train anybody. Um, for jobs you can do in your sleep. And I wrote, the follow-up question that I had for you was, yeah, but Mentor Shelley, uh, the entry level jobs now are requiring experience. What are people going to do if they're telling people, hey, all you have to do is take um, this certification, right? All you have to do is take this certification and you can get a job. And then people take these certifications, and you mentioned being able to market your skills, but I don't know if that's enough. That's one of the reasons why I harp so much on the multicultural networks on this channel. But let's talk about this.
Okay.
Am I off? Is Chocolate Cosmos off? Like, what are we thinking here?
You're not off, but I also want you to understand that the goalpost entry, I somebody mentioned goalposts and moving the goalposts. That's
Mm-hmm.
always going to be an issue whenever somebody else is in charge, of course. But
Mm-hmm.
you at least get a foot in the door, right? With the certification. Now, once you're there, the multicultural networks become very important. Number one. Number two, you don't stop skilling up once you get in the door. You continue to skill up, whether it be you gain some leadership skills. You also gain other skills that is going to, let's say for example, you have a cybersecurity type of certification, then you may want to drill down to ethical hacking, which is also tied to cybersecurity, but more granular. So it just depends on, of course, the IT specialists, I'm sure, are in the chat. But you get what I'm saying. It's not just getting in the door, but also taking advantage of the opportunity once you are in the door as well. It doesn't stop at entry level. So you want to make sure that you're doing what you can to get in the door, but also take full advantage of the opportunities once you get through that door. So it's not just oh, I got in, I'm good. No. If you've ever listened to what Erica Williams talks about, she's always talking about the fact that yes, get the certification, get into the door, but also while you're there, work through it a couple of maybe a year, maybe another 2 years, and you're looking for other opportunities. You're skilling up while you're in this position. You're doing other things to make sure you're adding to the skills, and you're adding transferable skills to that as well. It's not just about just getting there, but getting there and establishing yourself as the professional, or as the uber professional as you should be. It's not just getting there, but it's also, taking full advantage of it once you get there. Cherie? Uh-oh. All right, guys. Something may have happened. But let me go ahead and uh-oh. I think something may have happened with Cherie. But guys, if you have questions in the meantime, go ahead and post them in the chat, and I can definitely go ahead and answer them for you until Cherie gets back on the call. Something may have happened with her internet or her connection. Of course, you guys know, weather permitting, there may be some issues there. Cherie's power just went off. Okay, let me see if I can get her back on. Okay, so Cherie's power went off. She's gonna do her best to get back on. In the meantime, guys, do you guys have any additional questions? Because, of course, the controls for the show is in her arsenal as well. Guys, any questions, concerns? Let me go ahead and share some of the advantages. Yeah. Yeah, it's okay. I mean, things happen, and we just have to keep it. We have to keep going. Some of the ways, if you decide to go on the new collar journey. Oh, well, let me give some examples of what new collar type of jobs. Let me see here. Here are some of the positions that you would consider new collar. All right, I'm putting it in the chat. Software developer, of course, mean salary would be $110,000. Projected growth 22%. Security analyst, mean salary would be $103,590. Some of the other type of positions that would be considered new collar. Believe it or not, registered nurse, because registered nurse, yes, you may be in school for a couple of years, but it is not a full-blown degree. It's at least a start in getting in the door. Another one would be, let's see here, mortgage loan originator, which you guys know, Cherie is literally just starting off within the last year in that career path, and that took some certifications and getting some licensures and things of that nature. And I'll say to you, depending on what type of mortgages you're offering, or type of mortgages your type of mortgages that you're offering, it's going to be a lot more than this. This is just a little bit, just an entry point for the mortgage loan originators. So Dark and Lovely says, facts. I know someone who got to the foot of the door via CSR position and skilled up to a top leadership position. Exactly, Dark and Lovely. It is all a matter of what you do once you get there. It's not just about being there. Credit Solution, it says, what are my thoughts? I'll say, well, I'm going to just read the question. What are your thoughts on getting the position as a new collar worker, right? But then taking advantage of workplace tuition reimbursement to get degreed after hire. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Definitely use all of the opportunities that you have to make sure that you're skilled up. So when you do decide to leave, you're not just leaving with bare bones qualifications that you came with. You're leaving with, like, that's exactly what happened with me years ago. I went in with a CSR position at a TPA, at a third party administrative company. And by the time I left, I not only got my associate's degree, I also got my bachelor's degree because they did have a tuition reimbursement. Wait a minute, Credit Solutions. Are you telling my business without even knowing it? Look at that. Okay, Dark and Love Week says, great question. Credit Solutions, I think it's a great way to go to school without incurring so much debt. Absolutely. Listen, if you can always find somebody to pay the bill, I would be elated if I could have continued in that organization while I was going to school. However, I had to move to another organization where my HR degree could be more useful. So I did actually move, and of course, moved into the core HR of my career at that point. So of course, okay, Cherie is back! Yay!
Did you all hear that my power went out?
Yes, I
I'm so
did.
glad it didn't kick you off though. I
Yes,
was
I'm
like, darn.
very grateful. Absolutely. We did get
Okay.
some great questions, and I did post a couple of the jobs that are considered blue collar
Uh-huh.
in the chat. So if you want to pick up Dark and Lovely, please put that comment up here. Such Dark and Lovely says, I know someone who got their foot in the door via CSR position and skilled up to a leadership position.
Okay.
That is,
Let's see where Dark and Lovely's comment
mhm,
is.
mhm.
Here we go. Yes.
Yes. Yeah. Credit Solutionist has a great question. I did touch on it, but I want you to add your
Okay.
special sauce to that.
Definitely will.
Mm.
Okay. What are your thoughts on getting the position as a new collar worker, but then taking advantage of the workplace's tuition reimbursement to get degree after the hire? This actually was going to be a part of the very last 2 minutes of this
Mhm.
7 minute segment,
Yep.
but the precursor is the new classism is going to be degreed versus not degreed. One of the things that they say later on in this segment, and
Yep.
I was so ticked off when I got kicked off because the conversation was about upwardly mobile Black women and how we're catching up.
Yep.
I went and did a quick Google search, and it still turns out just amongst Black people overall, because they don't have it obviously separated. Um, it says here, among Black residents aged 25 and over, only 22.6% of us have a bachelor's degree or higher. So we're looking at about 78% of us that do not have college degrees. So
Wow.
within this segment, the Yale woman here, the Yale lecturer, and the other people were talking about the fact that these new collar jobs are for Black and Brown workers. So even though we know that we are catching up, moving up, et cetera, and we are doing a great job, our numbers still are very low with regards to um, where we are in the pecking order and in the workplace. And if 3 out of 4 of us still don't have college degrees, the truth is, in order to move up, I believe you're going to need one, which is why, even though it's expensive, I'm not telling people to get the most expensive degree that's out there. I believe, especially if you're going to be in corporate America, if you know you're not going the entrepreneurial route, if you're going to go corporate America and you know you want to get into management and things like that, I don't see how you're going to be able to do that without a degree. I just don't. Um, Mr.
There.
Shelley, did that answer your question?
Um. Yeah. I mean, I understand your perspective, and there have been people that have gotten into a lot of those leadership positions without it, but not. There's not many. There's a very small percentage because they were able to skill up and go through leadership trainings and things of that nature, and really work their way up in that organization without that degree, but there are going to still
It's
be some
rare.
words. Yeah, so that's why I
Yeah.
said it.
And I
There's a
bet
small
you,
percentage. There's a
yeah,
small
I
percentage.
bet you that those people are probably sales or maybe an IT position, but
Mm,
it's probably it's not going to be accounting most likely. You're not going to have a CFO
mhm.
most likely without an accounting degree.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, so I would love to see the stats with regards to that, and what positions those people actually are.
yeah,
Um, so, but yes, absolutely, start new collar worker and get that tuition reimbursement. Absolutely. So, um, you all also have here. Um, Credit Solution is saying, I think that's a great way to go to school without incurring so much debt. Yep, I agree with that. So, um, you all put in here mortgage loan originators.
yeah.
That's if you're salary. The truth is, if you are commission, you make a lot more than that.
That's
So,
why I said
so yeah.
I did say to them that may just be entry
Mhm.
level because
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a lot more money in.
No, there's more money in that. Yeah,
Okay.
and no. I will tell people now, if you are a good mortgage loan originator, you're making 2 to 400 a year.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm not going back to school unless a job pays me. I learned the first time. I understand that. I understand
Yep.
that, true Mystique. Yeah, the numbers are that low. I just looked it up because I wanted to see, based on the conversation we were having before I got kicked off because of my power going out. I wanted to see, where we are. And the truth is that people can use the fact that you don't have a college degree in order to say, well, you don't qualify for this job or that job. Now, they're going to do it anyway, no matter what. But it does, I believe, it does open up a certain amount of doors. Credit Solution is saying, yeah, people of color are the highest demographic in the workforce without degrees. Yeah, yeah. So, which is why I was watching another person. They were talking about what Biden has done and hasn't done. Y'all know I've been listening to my politics streams lately,
Mhm.
and the person said, um, you know, we don't care about the student debt being forgiven because we don't have college degrees. And I was like, yeah, Black people have college degrees. Well, me looking at this today, only 22% of us having college degrees. Now, that doesn't mean that we didn't take some college and not graduate,
Right.
but, maybe that person is correct. So, yeah, 20, I wouldn't call it shameful. I would call it lower than where we should be.
Yeah, I thought it
Yeah.
would have been a little bit higher than that. That's
No, that's what
just
they're saying. That's what they're
oof.
saying.
Yikes.
So, all right, let us go through a little bit more. I'm going to put this on just audio only,
Yeah.
um, just so I don't have issues with NBC. Let's see here.
That.
So returnships, there's a slight difference. Returnships was for people who had a gap in their work resume. So it was mostly for moms who had been at home who wanted to go back, for military veterans who had a gap on their resume, and a whole bunch of companies have come in to bring these people back into their workforce. There's a lot of these organizations like Path Forward and iRelaunch, and they're bringing these women back, and it has been hugely, hugely successful. And I think that paved the way for this new collar, which is the idea that we don't necessarily need to have that college degree, particularly when you guys think about the level of student debt that we've got out there, the fact that we've got students who are coming out of college who really aren't trained for the particular jobs that they might be going into. And there's research that shows that people who are coming out of trade schools are actually doing better in terms of finding work in the field.
Let me give you the other side of this story.
Sure.
Okay. Um, the return ships, I think it's great targeting stay-at-home moms that want to get back into the workplace.
Right.
We've talked on this channel about the fact that if a young lady is preparing to be a mother, there are certain things that she could do to prepare her life to be able to work from home so she does not have that gap in working.
Mm.
because it is, at one point, it was damn near impossible to get back in. Now it looks like some of the companies are trying to bridge that gap. Also, veterans, people don't understand, based on what you do in the military for a job, it is difficult for some veterans to then skill up to other things. Like, if you're going to join the military, be strategic with what career you're doing in the military so that when you get out, you actually have a career based on what they taught you there. But what do you think of some of the returnship opportunities for, different types of people? Oh, and I want to say one more thing. True Mystique, I love you, girl. Look, I get it. I, I kiki with you all the time, so don't worry about being blunt over here. But go ahead, Mentor Shelley.
Um, in any situation, whether you're coming out of the army, especially if you're coming out of the army and you can get some free money to go to school, you always want to take as much advantage as possible to put yourself in the best position, especially if it's free money. I know it's not free because you have to spend more time and you have to serve a little bit longer to get the full GI Bill, and it's not the same as it was 20 years ago. However, take as much advantage of it as possible so you at least have a degree and you have some certifications coming out so that when you come to civilian life, you have more than what, not say more than what you need, but you have a leg to stand on to be able to say, okay, well, I have this degree, I also have these skills, I also have this certification. That way you have choices as to what direction you want to take your career or to take your working life.
Mm-hmm.
You always want to go with the options that is best available to you. You don't want to not do something only because, well, I didn't feel like going through 6 months of training, when the 6 months of training could have added 20, 30, $40,000 more per year onto your salary.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. I mean, one thing that they do talk about, and we've known it for years, is that college, for the most part, does not prepare you for today's jobs. But guess what? Neither does high school. The education system, K through 12 and college, for the most part, does not prepare you for getting into the work and the actual um, bumps and bruises that you get and the experience that you get from being in that 9 to 5 every day, doing it for a year or two and actually learning that profession. So,
Cherie,
yeah.
can I add to
Uh-huh.
that?
Yes, yes, you
If
can.
if okay, college doesn't prepare you for the profession that you're going into. That gives you the theory. It gives you
Hmm.
the basics. Um High school, there's a reason that I wrote a book called From Clueless Teenager to Consummate Professional. Because if I were to go by just the skills, the stuff that I learned in high school, I'd be dead in the water. Only
Hmm.
because there was no resume writing taught. There was no interviewing skills taught. If you weren't on a specific track and you weren't, dare I say, um, you weren't proactive with learning a lot of those things, which is pick up a book, go to the library, read articles about what it means to put your resume together, put a cover letter together. What does it really mean? Write it so somebody wants to look at it. You're going out there blind.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. I'm gonna say yes and or maybe or but. I'm not quite sure what conjunction I want to use.
Okay.
I honestly think, because a lot of times people don't even know about resumes and cover letters and interview etiquette until they start trying to get a job, and then they're like, you know, people are slamming the doors on me, metaphorically, racism, all of these things. I
Sometimes
believe,
sometimes it's not metaphorically, Sherry. Sometimes it's literal,
sometimes
unfortunately.
it is, sometimes it is, but I wanted to say, I believe really it is your family's foundation with regards to them exposing you to certain things. Sometimes if you if you don't have so let's say you have a son and he doesn't have a male figure that shows him how to tie a tie, and he doesn't have any guidance at all, and he goes and he knocks on 50 doors with regards to, hey, can I get this job, and nobody introduced him to how to dress, interview etiquette, things like that, um, they may not even think to pick up a book to learn these things. Like, I think that there needs to be, I understand what you're saying with regards to the information as a book, but I do think there needs to be, because I remember being 18, 19, 20 years old and being clueless until somebody said, no, Cherie, this is how you actually play the game and do XYZ. Um, not show. Erica has the guy Sub Zero on all the time,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And one of the things he talks about, and we don't get training on this, especially people who are going for these new collar jobs.
Hmm.
We don't get training on interview etiquette. We don't get training on how to answer questions appropriately within an interview. We don't get training on applications and things like that, which is why he does spend some time going through those things, because you can't. We're now getting into another part of the conversation here,
Yes.
but you can take the 6-week boot camp and not get the job because you don't have these other skills, right?
Very much so.
um, and depending on the boot camp you go to, if nobody clues you into, yeah, but that's not all you need, you know yeah, it's great that you know how to do Python, but if you don't know these other things, you'll still never get the job. I know what I'm trying to say. I'm probably not articulating myself well, but
Well,
you know,
I got you.
yeah.
What you're saying is that you may have the skills to get the job, but do you know how to showcase those skills in an interview? Do you know how to use those skills how do you know how to sell those skills to that employer so that they want to hire you?
Can you also convince them that you fit in with corporate culture? And corporate doesn't necessarily mean big companies, small companies have corporate culture as well.
Yeah, you have to also, as part of anyone that has ever done interview coaching with me, do your research on the company so you understand what the company culture is, so you understand if you are going to be a good fit for it
Hmm.
and be able to articulate that in an interview. So
Yeah.
interviews are, you're just as much as the company is interviewing you, you're interviewing
You're
the
interviewing.
company as well.
Yeah.
So you have to be able to understand, not just look up the company on a website, like talk to people on LinkedIn. I'm dropping gems here now because these are things that I would normally provide in a coaching session. Like talk to the people on LinkedIn that are already working there. What are some of the things that you like about the organization? What are some of the things that you dislike? Be honest. I'm obtaining information for research purposes. You don't necessarily have to tell them that you're about to do an interview.
Hmm.
What is it that you like about your department? Is your department culture different from your company culture? Those are some of the things that you can call and ask. You just have to be stealth about it. Those are some of the things that I drop. Or those are some of the things that I teach or encourage in my consultation calls.
Yeah.
When, especially when you're going for an interview for a job that's going to increase your salary by 50 grand, you better have your stuff together. That
Absolutely.
way, that increase, when you get that increase, you're like, okay, well, this is something that, not only do I have the skills for it, but I also understand how to market, and also behind that interviewing, also be able to negotiate the salary accordingly, because those go hand in hand.
Yeah.
I
Well,
digress.
this is why we say the level up ain't free. It's
Yes.
not free. It's going to
No.
cost you money and it's going to cost you time. you know? So Dawn Earth is saying here, I'm so happy my family taught me those things. And we were taught interviewing skills and how to dress for an interview in high school. I am glad about that as well. And this is part of us being upwardly mobile parents. It's not enough for you to just teach STEM, right?
Right.
Everybody's like STEM, STEM, STEM. And I don't want to say this to sound mean. I'm just using this as an illustration. You have an ethnic group of people that just focus on STEM, 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 and they did not focus on soft skills. And now they're complaining about a bamboo ceiling, right? We have. I know it's controversial, but our swag plus knowing these essential skills plus the skills that we need because a lot of us are missing technical skills. We're missing those hard skills. We need to take a little bit of what they do well, add it, and keep what we currently do well, and we can skyrocket. So
Absolutely.
um, I want to play a little bit more. And Credit Solution is saying she needs that consultation, Shelly. So,
We, we,
I want to play a
we'll
little
get
more.
together on that. Don't worry about that. Go.
We're only 2 minutes and 25 seconds, and I want to get through this entire 7 minute thing. So let's continue listening a little bit more to the CNBC segment.
Yes.
And I'm not sure I'm right about this, but I'll just give you what I think is the other side. You see companies recruiting people without college degrees into jobs. And all the companies want to do with these jobs ever is automate these jobs and get rid of them, which leaves the employee spectacularly unprepared to move on. What we know is that the college education, for whatever reason that we're not quite sure of, prepares you for a life with a lower unemployment rate, in part because you're perhaps more adaptable, in part because you have a better network. So you get rid of the college thing. Yeah, you go get a job. Maybe you make a good number getting out of school. But for the rest of your tenure or your life in the workforce, you're spectacularly unprepared.
I think you're 100% right as of this moment in time.
Right.
Think about where artificial intelligence is going, and it's not just coming for those jobs. It's coming for everybody's job. It's gonna come for the college educated jobs as well. Another point though that you're raising there about this artificial intelligence and outsourcing of the jobs is you actually need the people who are going to understand how to do that. And one of the things I find really curious is technology is moving so quickly, and now we have all these new job categories, like a job category of being a prompter to prompt. ChatGPT.
I read about that. That's a good job, right? I mean,
it sounds like a very cool job. Yeah. So there are all these jobs that you're not learning in college anyway that you are going to need to learn on the job. So I think that the world is changing, and we'll see. I mean, I think you're raising a very good point. Certainly, historically, you are absolutely correct.
The other side.
Okay. So go ahead, Mentor Shelley. Go ahead.
There's a lot there.
Uh-huh.
The part I want to touch on is, yeah, they're getting these entry level jobs, but the goal of the company is to automate all of that stuff anyway. That's not always the case, but they're going with the assumption that that a lot of these companies in another 5 to 10 years is going to automate a lot of the positions that are open on the new collar level. And that's not necessarily the case. But I understand where they're going with the conversation based on who's talking. It's you also, whenever you're listening to commentators like this, you always have to consider the source and how they're communicating and why those talking points are coming from them. This is where the oligarchy type of a point of view starts to surface, if you know what I mean. Sure.
Well, let's show people what we're talking about here. This is the panel here, right? This is the panel. So you all can make your assessments based on the panel here. I do, though, believe that they are right. So, first of all, it was the older gentleman on the left-hand side that was making the statements about AI coming to take everybody's jobs, right?
Mm-hmm.
And for all of my people here who just got here, the woman in the red jacket is the Yale professor who is the expert who is talking about this. So uh, he is right that a lot of jobs, if you are unskilled labor, or if you are quasi skilled labor, uh, AI is going to take over a lot of positions that people may not even think that AI can take over. Uh, for example, within a couple of years, I believe AI will be doing the majority of customer service. Like, pick up the phone. I want to speak to a person. No, you're going to be talking to that AI bot and most likely not even know that you're talking to an AI bot,
That's
right? Um, Within our industry of being a mortgage loan officer, they've already done this process where AI has taken a person from interest in getting a mortgage to telling them about their loan options to taking the application to getting them to the closing table, all done by AI. Like, cut Cherie out of a mortgage loan officer position, period. And the
whoa,
processors and everybody like that.
whoa.
So, yes. Um, so, what he's saying, there is truth to what he's saying with regards to no matter what industry you're in, between robotics and AI, all those people that's working in those Amazon
Mm-hmm.
warehouses, I
Mm-hmm.
don't know how long you got, but you better skill up because we've seen the robots. And no, we're not going to have a 100% robot free Amazon,
Mm-mm.
but we had the strikes last year with a lot of people saying, "Oh, we want better wages, blah blah blah." There may be a time where they could get rid of 2/3 of the labor force in those factories and have a skeleton crew of people and robots, right? So,
It's
yeah. So, but one thing that she said in here, so I wrote a couple of notes down. One thing that she said in here, it was either she said it or he said it. I think he
mhm.
said it. He talked about college teaching you how to be adaptable.
Mm.
And I'm going to say college, depending on the person, college may or may not teach you how to be adaptable. But the skill of a worker or an employee or an individual who can make it from 2024 and beyond is going to have to be somebody who is very adaptable and who knows how to learn new things. And one of the things about college, one of the things that college can teach you that a lot of places cannot, including the new college job 6-week boot camp, is it can teach you how to learn new things. It can teach you how to learn new complex things. Um, and if you are an upwardly mobile parent, one of the best skills you could teach your children is how to learn new things, because that's going to be the only way that you're going to stay ahead. For you, as a employee, or me as a mortgage loan officer, uh, our ability to continue being upwardly mobile, I believe, is highly attached to our ability to be adaptable and learn new things. Um,
Absolutely.
and learn how to learn. What do you think, Mr. Shelley?
I'm completely in agreement with that. I have a personal philosophy. If you're not learning, you're dead.
Mm-hmm.
So every day you can learn something new, grab onto that opportunity. You don't know if tomorrow is promised. I hate to sound that dark, but that's as real as it gets.
It's true. It's true. Um, we have some. Sabrina just got here. Don't worry about it. Sabrina, welcome. Saying,
Welcome.
I am taking an AI course this semester. I'm an adjunct professor and I need to learn about AI and how students can ethically use these platforms and how to preserve my own career. Good for you. Don't just take, so definitely take the course, but my suggestion would be either put a Google alert whenever new articles are coming out about AI and what's happening in your industry, have the Google alert come to you, or every couple of days go and look at the blogs and things like that, because that's how I learned, for example, about what AI is doing in the mortgage loan industry. So,
Yeah.
because stuff is going to change super, super fast.
Yeah.
Dark and Lovely
Absolutely.
is saying, when I taught high school for 1 year, I was thankful I was able to sneak resume writing and interviewing into the curriculum. I am proud that a handful of students got their first jobs because of it. Here's the
Awesome.
thing. This is to me where the setup actually is. Like, I, for the life of me, well, sure, I know why they do it, but I'm gonna pretend like I don't. I don't understand why they don't teach practical skills in high school. I remember, so I graduated high school in the early 90s. We took home ec. We
Yep.
took typing. I know you don't need to necessarily take typing anymore, but at the time, um, not everybody, it was different than it was now. Not everybody knew how to type, right? So I
Hmm.
took typing, I took home ec. We took like sewing classes and things like that. I don't know if we ever took like a financial literacy class, but there should be within high school. If you're going to create a real high school experience for people, there should be these things with regards to resume writing, interviewing skills, networking skills, things like that. It's sad, and I think it is a setup. And I would not be surprised if these um, kids that go to certain schools, certain, we call it upper class schools, they're innately getting this stuff that we aren't getting.
Uh, Sheree,
Yeah.
I will say this.
Uh huh.
Um, there needs to be, and they are making strides in certain areas, right? There are certain organizations that have made an impact on high school children.
Mm-hmm.
Financial education and life skills. And I believe resume writing, cover letters, understanding how to interview and salary negotiation should be life skills, because that's how you're going to be able to obtain a position, whether you're interviewing for McDonald's, Chick-fil-A, or the corporate or a corporate position.
Mm-hmm.
um, and financial education, which is not taught in schools. There's now like organizations like the Dave Ramsey organization is now in a lot of schools teaching that at that level, and that's an
Yeah.
organization that approach school districts to be able to have that as part of their curriculum now. That is something that's not being taught in schools currently. And even for students like myself that looked for that information and then ended up in human resources, how ironic. um, I was curious because whenever I got curious about a particular subject, I'm looking up all kinds of things. So I think I was born around in the right time when internet and became available or became a new thing, and
Mm-hmm.
reading books that can be read from your phone became a thing. Of course, I'm telling on myself, I'm aging myself at this point, but information was easier to access maybe 10 years before that. So a lot of these skills that you're talking about should be in schools, but they're not. And of course, we may or may not want to devote, lean to why some of those things are not taught in schools.
Mm-hmm.
How why in some organizations, for example, if there are students in college that are in leadership organizations or they're in sororities and fraternities, a lot of those type of skills are taught in those organizations.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Or if the students, let's be clear, sometimes it's the students that are not taking advantage of the opportunities that are available. Because I went to a college that had a career that had career mentors. that you can go to, that will teach you, that will show you, that will provide you with tools. But a lot of the college students, did they go there? No. Did they use those resources that were available? No. So sometimes the ownership has to be on you as the individual, but it should be taught from high school level, but it's not.
Yeah.
If
If
it,
I can,
go ahead.
I just want to put a pin in that and say,
Mhm.
I remember being 16, 17, 18, 19 years old and adults telling me I should do things and know things. But when I asked them why, they could not articulate a good
Yeah.
reason as to why I should know those things. And because of that, I didn't think they were important, so I didn't go. So I'm not going to put it all on there were resources and the young people didn't take advantage of it because if you don't either grow up in a family where you see it all the time and it becomes second nature,
Hmm.
or you don't have a mentor um, tell you you need to know this and this is why you need to know this, then you're going to fall by the wayside. I had the boss from hell, my very first job. But there was one thing that she said to me that was true to this day. She taught me the importance of going to the company Christmas party. And nobody, my parents, I said I wasn't going. They didn't say, no, Cherie, that's not smart. You need to go to the company Christmas party because of dot, dot, dot. It was this woman, the boss from hell that I had, that was like, no, you need to go to this Christmas party because. So, what I like about having these types of discussions, or not discussions, but classes in a formal setting and not just it's a resource center over here, is because all of the students are getting, if the curriculum is taught properly, this is the reason why you're doing this. So that way, for a lot more students, it clicks as to why they're learning this or why they should even go and get that resource,
Right.
learn a lot more about that.
Right. And,
Yeah.
and I agree with that. It's just that a lot of schools, they provide it as more of a resource than an actual formal class. And
Yeah.
I think it should that it's all of this, the life skills, the financial literacy should really truly be taught at the
Hmm.
high school level.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know.
they should be. Well, let's continue listening to this. I'm
Mhm.
going to just have audio here.
Mhm.
Let's continue listening.
Think that the world is changing, and we'll see. I mean, I think you're raising a very good point. Certainly, historically, you're absolutely correct.
The other side of that argument,
Yeah.
is that there could be more velocity in terms of how you switch jobs if you need online training as opposed to an expensive 4-year degree. If it's an online course that separates you from taking a more technical job, then maybe it's easier
All right.
to retrain yourself
I don't want
and
to take
get to the
Joanne's
next
time,
step.
but I'm going to disclose myself as very old school in my thinking about education. I'm
Mhm.
really in favor of a broad liberal arts education,
And I agree.
science and literature and math and all that stuff, because you don't know what the future brings, and it is adaptability, your ability to change. And the other thing that really kind of pisses me off is companies want to shove down onto the public the training of their workers. They ought to own it rather than shove it down onto the public big.
But isn't that some of what's changed right here, though, is with the employers wanting to sort of essentially have somebody who's prepared for that particular job, and then you're going to grow into it.
And they are doing the training. And can I make one other point, which I think is actually really important, which is when you look at who doesn't have a college degree. And by the way, I love my liberal arts degree. It's awesome. Right. I recommend it.
All right, I'm gonna stop right there. Hold on.
Yeah.
She loves her liberal arts degree, but she gonna tell you to do something different. we gonna get to that part. But the older gentleman here, because I want y'all to know who was talking.
Mhm.
This is the guy who was just talking, who made the statements about liberal arts degree and learning a lot of different things because you don't know what you want to do
Mhm.
until you get into the workplace and you try different things, which is true.
Mhm.
He also talked about the fact that these employers now are shoving certain certifications and certain pieces of knowledge, and they only tell you like one piece of the puzzle with regards to this is how you do this specific job, you know? Now she's about to go in, and the Yale professor is about to talk about the fact that it's mostly Black and brown people who are getting these new collar jobs, which, you know, Winter Shelley and I are about to talk about that.
Oh Lord.
But as for her, she has her. Oh, I'm going to show her here.
Mhm.
She got her liberal arts degree, and she probably also studied very specific, um, skills in order to be able to take that liberal arts degree and turn it into, I mean, she's a Yale professor, so whatever she does. Um, but Mentor Shelley, y'all talk about No Child Left Behind in the chat and vote no to liberal arts. Beulah is in here. So Beulah does she's a tradesperson. But
Mm.
look, these people are saying we're gonna get into the classism in a second. Go ahead, Mentor Shelley.
Listen, if you're going to be an expert in your field.
Mhm.
The liberal arts stuff comes with the first year or two of your degree because you have to take all these other classes before you get to your core subject matter anyway.
Mhm. That's true.
Okay. So if you're going to specialize in, well, in my case, human resources management, then of course, um, you want to become an expert in your field. Of course, human resources management has a lot of specializations within it. So once you have a general basics of the benefits and leave management and absence management and employee relations and compensation and um oh gosh, need I go on?
Mhm.
That's just within the scope of HR.
Yeah.
And of course, IT is the same way. So when she says liberal arts, it's more of a statement of I have my degree. It doesn't matter what the major is. At the end of the day, I have my degree. So if I need that as a rite of passage or to get through this particular ceiling, I already have it in my back pocket, that's really what she's communicating when she's saying this. It's not necessarily about liberal arts per se. It's the fact that, well, even though I'm advocating for these new collar jobs, I still got what I need if I need to go from one place to the next in my career.
She can be fluid in
Right.
her career, you
Right.
know.
So
Whereas if you are getting these specific certifications, for example, that may not translate from one industry to the next or one area to the next. I do want to point out something that Beulah said here. So Beulah said, when I was in corporate America, all of our bosses had nothing past a high school diploma or GED, and these bosses were over an entire educated workforce. So my comment to this would be number one, when your bosses started out, they
mm,
started out with, let's say, 100 people, and your bosses, probably 3 to 5 of those people rose to the top. So it wasn't the fact that your bosses had a high school diploma, it was they had other skills that caused them to rise to the top. Because for every 100 people who just have a high school diploma, 98 of them stay at um, minimum wage or a little bit more, unless they get certain types of skills. So I would just kind of push back on that, Beulah, with regards to the fact that if you are going to just have a high school diploma and you're going to rise up to the top. And any boss needs to do that, whether or not you have a college degree or not. There are certain skills that a boss has. And if any of my ladies in here are going to work your way up the corporate ladder or be the boss or be an entrepreneur, a successful entrepreneur, there are certain skills that you have to have. And that's why we're always talking about technical skills on this channel and soft skills that you have to have.
Right.
So what are those skills that cause those bosses with just a high school degree or a high school diploma or GED to rise to the top? And those are the skills that you need to cultivate. Those are the skills that you need to cultivate. Um, go ahead.
Beulah says they have no skills. That sounds like a Nepo baby situation there, Beulah.
It does that. So if it's nepotism or something like that, then that's totally different. Yes.
Mhm.
Uh, oh, so True Mystique saying I had to change my major 3 times. This is my story. Um I I came to DC because I wanted to study politics. In my first semester, I discovered I hated politics, so I decided to change my major. My father looked at me and said, "Well, you got 4 years to graduate, and everything else is on your own. So you better you better figure it out and figure it out fast."
Ooh,
So your girl took all her liberal arts classes for the first 2 years, and then settled on business after
okay.
that. But yeah. Um, Beulah's over here cutting up. My one boss had no clue what a locksmith was.
Goodbye. I'm done. Goodbye.
All righty then. The other thing that I had on my notes here is that the people who understand the tech and how to work with people are going to win.
Yeah.
The people who understand the tech and how to work with people are going to win. Those are going to be the people who have the most success, whether or not you are in corporate America or you have your own business. So I think it's important to know both.
Absolutely.
Because a lot of people just know one side of it. If I just take this certification, everything's going to be all right. No,
Mm-mm.
no, because then you be coming over here talking about racism, white supremacy, and it's like, well, do you have a LinkedIn? How's your resume look? What are your interview skills? Are you going to match with that corporate culture? Have you gone to networking events? When you went to the networking events, did you sit on the wall or stand on the wall, or did you engage people? All of those things are important as well, right? Um, and then also, if you are a smooth talker, but people give you a chance and then you can't perform, i.e., the technical skills, then
You need
you're
both.
you're lost as well.
Yep.
So
You
yeah,
need both.
you need both. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
It's not just about do you have the skills, but do you know how to market them? And if somebody tells you to follow 10 steps, do you know how to follow 10 steps and suggest 2 more? Do you have the forward thinking to say, well, I want to make sure that not only am I doing what you've asked, but I'm also bringing my skills, the way I work through things and the way I process things, and I'm adding something. I'm adding value to your organization at the same time. So it's not just about having the skills. It's about having the skills, knowing how to market the skills, knowing how to communicate efficiently, and be able to um, network, cross upwardly, and lower,
Hmm.
to be able to move in the organization smooth like butter.
Well,
Yes.
we're gonna play the final
Hmm.
piece of this. This is the final 2 minutes. Let's listen to this.
Hmm.
Really important, which is when you look at who doesn't have a college degree. And by the way, I love my liberal arts degree. It's
Right.
awesome. I recommend it. Not everybody has access to that kind of education.
Fair,
and if you look
fair.
at the people without a college degree, disproportionately Black and Hispanic. And these are people who have been cut out of all sorts of job opportunities simply because they don't have that bachelor's degree. And now the whole world opens. There's 70 million people, adults, without a college degree. And how amazing is it that we can open up all of these opportunities? We have a tight labor market.
I'm sold on that.
And all of these other people.
The idea that it
that's
does
the part of it
open
that you
up.
wonder about, though. Is this a functioning part of a tight labor market where, you don't have to ask for as many credentials?
Yeah.
You can't, because you can't fill the position.
I think there's going to be, it will open up opportunity for all sorts of people who have been blocked out until now. So I as much as I love my liberal arts education,
right.
I think that in the real world, this is really a really interesting and positive.
I'm going to counter here, which is this. And I think I sort of said this already, but I'll just reiterate it. To get that low unemployment experience over the course of your lifetime, you've got to have the degree. Some college doesn't do it. It's having the degree that gets you to that place where you experience that lowest unemployment rate. Some college looks a lot more like high school than no college. Or that
has been the
degree,
case, is what you're saying. That's
right.
what
Now,
the data
maybe
has
it's changing.
shown.
Maybe that's what Joanne is here to tell us, that you can get and have a better experience out there through this new collar type worker where, I mean, if they're going to train you, they're going to train you.
By the way, this can mean generational change. If one generation can get that good job because of online focused training, the next generation may be able to have access
right.
to that college that we all value so much.
There was a halcyon period of the 50s in America where people got out and they did, union jobs and those sorts of jobs that were not college degree, but it was a ticket to the middle class.
You also had chief executives who didn't go to college back in the 50s. I mean, not everybody went to college back then. So
I think we solved most of the problems of the U.S. labor market right here with Joanne in about 6 minutes.
All right, that was it. Then they're about to finish what they were saying.
Aren't they cute? Aren't they cute that they think they solved all the labor market problems in 6 minutes? Go ahead on.
Well, this definitely ended up being a classism thing and a conversation. And the truth is, and we're going to be a little mean here, but you all know we don't mince words over here. Over time, as these new collar jobs become more and more prevalent, it may end up being people can tell your class, quote unquote, by if you have a college degree. If they look on your LinkedIn, look at your resume, things like that, people will be able to tell what class you are, social structure. The other thing, I don't know Black literacy rates. I know that there are a lot of Black people who are unemployed and underemployed due to basic literacy issues. Erica talks about this all the time. Mm-hmm. Even if you open up these new collar jobs, if a person does not have a certain amount of basic literacy to learn the new content and to be able to perform, I still think you're going to end up with some of these issues. They talked about the fact that the new collar jobs is because of the tight labor market. But again, going back to his discussion of AI, and he didn't mention robotics, but I'll mention it. The jobs over time are going to be changing. The jobs are going to be changing from what we're doing today to who can manage the tech. Who can manage the tech and who can manage the people. I know I said a lot of stuff that seemed like it wasn't all correlated, but it honestly was, because this is like one big conversation that we're having here with regards to this, with regards to new collar jobs. Some of you honestly have have kids who maybe they start off with new collar jobs instead of going to college. How are you going to advise them, et cetera, et cetera? Some of you are young in here as well, and you're trying to figure out if you're going to go to college or not. Mr. Shelley, I just kind of want to open this conversation. I don't think there's one way of thinking about this. I think it's a complex issue at the end of the day.
It's a complex issue, but there's many solutions to it too. Because if they thought that's having this conversation, this little kiki they had for 6 minutes, that's the solution to the problem. The new collar jobs is offering an opportunity um to get to a entry level where it's helping to bridge the gap from a financial standpoint, but that's a entry point. It's not a destination. And I think a lot of times, especially with black and brown folks, we may we may think the new collar opportunities is the destination, but it is an entry point. So once you're there, take full advantage of what it is that you have now landed on, so to speak. So if you took a class or you took a certification class and got your certification in cybersecurity, and you utilize the skills. Let's say you go through a session with me, you get through a coaching session, and you go through the interview, you showcase your talents, and you get the job. And the job is now paying you $70,000 more per year than you've ever made ever in your life. What you also want to do is keep in mind that once you get there, learn as much as possible, become a sponge, be, you know, be as engaging as possible. What is it they need help with? Of course, make sure that whatever you're helping with, whatever you're volunteering for, whatever it is that once you get there, network with the right people. You won't know who that is initially, but with time, you will learn. Ask questions, observe what happens to who, when, where, and what. That way, when you're ready to make your move or you've gotten a few more skills under your belt and you're ready to make those transitions, when you're having conversations with whoever you report to, you're not having conversations. So, well, yeah, I want to be promoted or I want to move up or I'm looking at this as my trajectory in this company. And you have a plan laid out. Nothing says love and nothing says I'm in control of my career like a person that has a concrete plan. So it's not just going and saying, I want to do this and I want to do that. It's wonderful. It's great. Do you have a plan? Here's my plan. I have this is the certification I already have. I also have these transferable skills from my previous experience. I would like to either go to college if they have college tuition reimbursement available, any job that you go to. If they have college tuition reimbursement, take advantage of it, please and thank you. I wish I had that for my whole college career. I wouldn't have student loan debt now. Anyway, take advantage of it. If they're offering to pay for certifications, jump on that like it's white on rice.
Absolutely. I've been saying that.
So any of those opportunities that find out and if they do, take advantage of it. So when you have those conversations behind those closed doors, you're not having those conversations with your fingers in your mouth because you're so nervous. You're having those conversations confidently because you know what you bring to the table. And
Yeah.
it's not just your pretty face.
So obviously, you can only trust the internet so much, but I know these are slightly older here. The literacy rates, according to this, in 2017, 26% of Black students demonstrated proficiency in fourth grade reading. Um, but let's be real, white students only got 46.7%, so that's not so good either. Um, Around 35% of Black 4-year-old children were enrolled in state funded preschool. Uh, in 2018 to 2019, only 10.5% of Black kindergartners met the reading readiness benchmark. Uh, I'm not going to say what I'm going to say. Reserve that. And then in 2019, proficiency rate for Black students in eighth grade language arts was 36.9%. So, um, yeah, I mean, look, for some of these, well, Mr. Shelley, I guess I'll ask you this question.
Hmm.
What grade level do you think people need to be able to read at proficiently to take these new collar jobs and actually be able to finish them and do it in such a way where they have comprehended the information? Because the chat was talking about reading comprehension is even lower than just being able to read, um, and level up, because we're talking about being upwardly mobile over here. So it's not just finishing the coursework, it's finishing the coursework with an understanding of the material in such a way that you are able to go into that job and master that job. um, I would imagine it ain't very high. And not just Black people, I mean just overall. But you let me know what you think.
At least an eighth grade education, you'd be at least be able to read. Should be able to read a book that's written on that level and understand what it's talking about, not just in the broad subject matter, but the context in which it's written. If you're able to do that, if you're able to read and understand, you should be able to learn a new concept in whatever subject matter that is thrown at you, because most publications now are being written on an eighth grade level. And if you can pick up a newspaper article and read and learn something new about an organization, or learn something new about a person, or learn something new about a new technology, you should be able to, if they say, I want to teach you how to tie your shoelace, and here are the instructions. If you can follow instructions, you should be able to learn something new.
Eighth grade. Okay. So I just Googled eighth grade reading books. um, you know, I'm even tempted to go into Chat GPT and say, write something that is at an eighth grade reading level, that I should be able to read and comprehend, just to test myself, because I don't think I'm too big to go through this test. But yeah, so even though our dear friends at CNBC, who ended up laughing and giggling about this, they have the white collar jobs, the blue collar jobs, and the new collar jobs. At the end of the day, this is going to come down to classism. This is the new version of it. The new collar jobs may even be the new versions of um, the middle class. We also know, um, I expressed this to you ladies a couple of weeks ago when Mukamami was on, that there was a chart that was done actually through CNBC. And in order for you to purchase a home today, or as of a couple of months ago, median house price in the United States, you need to make 114,000 a year.
Yikes.
You need to make 114,000 a year. So these new collar jobs, if you are starting at entry level, you may or may not even be there. Some of these new collar jobs, you may get in and start out at 50, 60. But in order for you to level up to the point where you could get to 125, 150, 200,
Mm-hmm.
that's where a lot of Tam talking about women in Linux and the
Yep.
skills that she's talking about comes in. Or the things that if you all ever want to know, that I'm learning within being a mortgage loan originator comes in. Or, I always tell you entrepreneurship is a skill. Those kinds of skills come in. Um, but yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
It's so important. this very short conversation opened up a lot. It opened up a lot of opportunity for me as a career coach to showcase, yes, new collar jobs are available. It opens the door a little bit wider
Mm-hmm.
for people that may have not had access to that level of income because they're coming from the fast food or the retail or yeah, Beulah, you're probably right about that. Um,
Mm-hmm.
um, however, it also it's an opportunity, and with every opportunity, you make the most of every opportunity that you have.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, their liberal arts degree is no loss on me because I also have my bachelor. So it's not that they sometimes, unfortunately, when they say these things, they try to make it seem like they're not saying, "Well, I'm better than you," but they kind of they kind of said it without
It
saying.
was it was blatant. If
It
I
was
picked up on it, it was
it's
blatant.
blatantly implied,
It's
you know.
blatant. Yes,
Right.
yes, it is.
Yeah, but it's kind of like how people say if you want to hide something from black people, you put it in a book. You ain't hiding it
Mhm.
from me because I open them things and I read.
But here's the thing: how many of us watch CNBC? How many of us watch business channels? I mean, the new version of this is if you want to hide something from black people, put it on a boring person's YouTube channel,
Yeah,
right? I mean, you know,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So I will say one final thing, and we can say your final comments as well.
Hmm.
At the end of the day, white collar, blue collar, new collar is all about being skilled labor. Nowhere in this segment, let me show this again here so you all can see our dear friends over here laughing and kikiing it up on CNBC.
Hmm.
Nowhere in this segment they say unskilled labor.
Nope,
Unskilled labor is about to get squashed.
it's not in the
The
conversation.
new lower income class, honestly, I'm be honest, y'all may not like it. It's going to be the new collar jobs. That's the new entry level.
Yeah.
That's so until you get enough skills and enough experience to move up. The new collar jobs is the new entry level. And it's not enough for you to just get the certification. Mentor Shelley and I, beaten a dead horse with this comment because these corporations, whether big or small, are looking at corporate culture. And there are a lot of little things you need to know in order to be able to get in and in order to be able to move up in salary as well as in ranking and position.
Hmm. Hmm.
Rana is asking, what is unskilled labor? Um, Unskilled labor is, you have to watch. We haven't really talked about unskilled labor, Rana. I just mentioned it here because I saw this, right?
Hmm.
Unskilled labor is basically unskilled labor. It's if you do not have a skill, if you do not have, um, let's say you're a fast food worker,
Hmm.
you're an Uber driver, you do not have any specific skill that can cause you to, um, I don't want to put a dollar amount on it, but that at least gets you out of the working poor. I don't know
Hmm.
if you have a dollar amount, Mr. Shelley, or anything like that, or how you define unskilled labor, but
It's basically any regular person doing regular activities such as driving their car
mhm,
or cashing out items at a at a Walmart. Because if you've been to a Walmart lately, if you notice, there's not a whole lot of cashiers there
right,
anymore.
right.
Um, and there's some, not all, but there are some fast food places that only have people assembling the food. The
Mhm.
food's already cooked when it gets when I think halfway cooked by the time it gets to a location. AI is doing a lot of that work now. It requires you to have a skill. If you don't have a specific skill, then it's considered unskilled labor. Picking up trash would be considered unskilled labor. However, if you drive the trucks that operate that operate the trucks, and there's some of that that is considered skilled.
The CDL, yeah.
Right, like CDO,
Mhm.
like right, because you have to have a specific license to do that. So that's
Mhm.
considered skilled labor. But like, yeah, Raina said, like McDonald's.
Yeah, well, Beulah, Beulah is cutting up tonight. Time out for Beulah. Being on time for work is is a skill. I
Goodbye.
swear that will take half.
Hold on.
Oh my goodness,
Goodbye.
Beulah, come on, girl. The Starbucks barista is pretty much unskilled labor. Yeah, like
Yeah.
if anything you could learn to do in a couple of hours,
Hmm.
um, practically is unskilled labor. Yes.
Correct.
So, but this is truly the new division of skilled labor, and they're adding in another, what do you call it? They're adding in
Layer.
a layer,
Yep.
but I'm reading into this now, and I don't know why it just all of a sudden it hit me. New collar jobs though are still like the lower. It's on the lower. We
Lower
call
end
it
of the
lower
lower,
end
lower end of the spectrum.
of the spectrum. Yes. Thank you
Yes.
so much for completing my sentence here.
No
I,
problem.
I will say this as well. Do not sleep on blue collar work. Do
No, please
not, do
don't.
not, do not sleep on blue collar work. There are people that make very good livings being plumbers and, electricians, depending on what state you're in, HVAC people, um, etc. The other thing, when I had the 10K project that we talked about, was being a robot repair person. Don't sleep on stuff like that.
Mm-mm.
So, just in
No.
case I have some fellas watching, or even some ladies that want to do these types of things, blue collar work of the future, can you fix the robots?
Mm-hmm.
Because that's called a machinist. My neighbor is actually a machinist. He was one for many years. He can look at any machine, figure out how it works, how all the circuits and things work together, and fix practically anything. Look, he's old school guy, right? He's
Yeah.
retired now, right?
Yeah.
But if you could do something like that, even though you're blue collar, you will never starve.
Nope.
If you are a good handyman, you will never starve. That's blue collar.
Exactly.
So new collar is like the new entry level. My issue with it is it's not really an issue, it's a warning for people who are doing new collar and that's it. Is they teach you that one skill, and if you want to move up or if you want to move over to another company, sometimes it can be difficult to do. So
Yeah.
you got to play chess, not checkers. Um, Credit
Exactly.
Solutionist is saying sales or repairs. Look, if you can sell,
That's a skill.
you will never starve.
That is a
Being a
skill.
salesperson is absolutely a skill.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So
Mm-hmm.
Dark and Love is saying machinist is also called maintenance techs in some warehouses. Yeah, look, if you are that woman or man that can look at a machine and fix it like any, because what he told me, my neighbor told me, is that all of these machines practically work the same way. So once you figure out one, you can figure out all of them. And
Mm-hmm.
it's just a matter of figuring out how the wires fit into the whatevers and the whatevers. But the guy can fix practically anything. So
Oh.
yeah.
Blossoming Bloom says,
hmm Any airport job outside of pilots and flight attendants is unskilled. Hotel workers are primarily unskilled. Waitresses are unskilled as well. Yeah, the flight attendants actually do have to go through like a crazy boot camp, is my understanding.
eight
It's,
weeks worth.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's not an easy job at all.
No, it's
So, yeah, yeah. So, Any final comments? Where can people find you if they want to get a consultation or anything like that?
You can find me at mentorshelly.com/consultations. Let me put that in the chat as well, so you guys can
Yes.
find me there. If you have high school students that have not had the wonderful lessons in high school of life skills, I do have a book that talks about those life skills and pretty much takes them through the process of learning how to market themselves, coming out of high school, going into college, or if they're college students getting ready to graduate. They can go to mentorshelly.com/book. I do have my book there, From Clueless Teenager to Consummate Professional, 7 Steps to Getting the Career and Life You Want. So they can also grab that resource as well. I do have other resources coming in the next few months, but those are the top two that I want to make sure you guys have, so you can work with me directly to make sure you become a better version of yourself professionally in whatever new collar, blue collar, or white collar job or career path that you want to take.
Fantastic. I hope you ladies picked up something today, learned something today, etc. I, of course, always enjoy my time with Mentor Shelley. She
Yes.
is one of our advisors here on the Black Women Making Money channel. And I always suggest that you all go and listen to Mentor Shelley, learn from her, etc. So, with that, I do want to remind people of two things. Number one is please hit that like button on the way out. Please hit the like
Yes.
button. Number two, if you're not on our email list, exclusive content as well as Zoom meetings once a month where we get together and discuss things we do not discuss on YouTube. You want to come to bwmakingmoney.com. It's completely free for you to be a part of our community. So, thank you so much, Mentor Shelley. Thank you to all of my ladies who are here this evening, and we'll see you on the next stream.
All right.
Bye, ladies.
Bye, ladies.